Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're putting a magnifying glass on something that we all deal with, but we rarely talk about, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of those taboo topics, really.
It totally is.
Yeah.
So I want you, the listener, to picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, and you're staring at your phone. You've just opened your banking app after paying the month's rent, the utilities, maybe setting aside some money for your parents.
Right, the usual obligations.
Exactly. And you're looking at the balance left over, or maybe Chinese New Year's coming up, and you're stressing over how much to put in the Ang Paos this year because your budget is like already stretched to the absolute limit.
Oh, I think a lot of people feel that exact tension.
Right. Or even more anxiety-inducing. Imagine you're sitting with your siblings, and the topic of paying for an aging parent's medical care comes up, or dividing a family inheritance. Your chest gets tight, your breathing gets a little shallow, your mind just starts racing.
It is an incredibly heavy burden. And, for the Malaysian Buddhist community, there's often this thick, extra layer of tension wrapped around those specific moments.
Yeah, why is that?
Because fundamentally, we are taught that wealth isn't the ultimate goal of life. Right. We're taught the value of non-attachment, of letting go, of recognizing that material things, they don't bring lasting peace.
Right. But at the same time, we live in the real world. You can't pay your T&D electricity bill with non-attachment.
No, you definitely cannot.
You can't buy groceries or fulfill your filial piety obligations with just a sense of inner peace. You need actual ringgit. So how do we reconcile this? How do we handle money without losing our minds and, without betraying our spiritual values?
That is the profound tension we are unpacking today. We have these ancient, timeless spiritual principles on one hand, and a very modern, immediate, and often brutal financial reality on the other.
It's a huge gap.
It is. For a long time, it has felt like there is a massive bridge missing between the cushion where we meditate and the desk where we pay our taxes.
And building that exact bridge is the mission of our deep dive today. We're exploring a truly groundbreaking new book called The Mindful Wallet, transforming your money story with mindfulness and CBT.
It's such an important read.
It really is. It's co-authored by two fascinating people, Lim Hui, who is a licensed financial life planner, and Dr. Fang Cheng Carr, a mindfulness-based psychiatrist. And they've teamed up to address this exact gap between ancient wisdom and modern wallets.
It's a vital collaboration, honestly, because you're getting the hard, practical, spreadsheet-level realities of financial planning married to the deep psychological and spiritual insights of mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
It treats money not just as a math problem, but as a deeply emotional and psychological landscape.
And the big idea here is that the Buddha actually gave incredibly clear, excellent ethical advice on wealth. He didn't tell lay people to just be broke.
Right, not at all.
He said to earn wealth honestly, use it wisely to care for yourself and your family, share it generously with others, and, hold it without clinging. That is fantastic advice, but what this book explores is how we actually execute that today. It acts as a modern toolkit to help lay people deal with present-day financial anxiety.
Exactly. It's the how-to guide for that ancient advice.
Okay, let's unpack this. If the Buddha's advice on money is so clear and so obviously good for us, why is it so incredibly hard for us to follow it in our daily lives?
Yeah.
Like, why do we still panic over household budgets or compulsively buy things on Shopee that we don't even need?
That is the foundational question of the book, and they answer it by introducing a psychological concept called money scripts.
Money scripts.
Yeah. These are our hidden, entirely unconscious financial beliefs. They are shaped intensely by our childhood memories, the cultural messages our family passed down to us, and deep-seated feelings of guilt, shame, or fear.
Oh, wow.
And what's brilliant is the authors beautifully map this onto the core Buddhist concept of dependent arising.
Okay, wait. When I hear dependent arising, my mind usually goes straight to, grand philosophical cycles.
Yeah.
The wheel of samsara, or even karma from past lives. I don't usually connect it to my credit card limit.
Yeah, that is a very common disconnect. But what the Mindful Wallet does is apply dependent arising directly to our present life, day-to-day money suffering.
So it's right here, right now.
Exactly. It's not about what happened 3 lifetimes ago. It is about what is happening in your nervous system right here, right now. When you feel that wave of panic looking at a restaurant bill, it's not just about the numbers printed on the receipt.
What is it about then?
It's likely a flare-up of a childhood memory, maybe watching your parents argue bitterly over money at the dinner table. It is a deep-seated scarcity belief that whispers, there will never be enough, and you are not safe.
Gee.
Yeah. Those invisible scripts are the underlying causes and conditions of your financial stress today.
I'm trying to visualize how this works in practice. It's like, imagine you are driving a car. You know all the traffic rules perfectly. You know red means stop, green means go.
Right.
And the Buddha gave us those traffic laws, earn honestly, spend wisely. But you have this unconscious reflexive habit of slamming on the brakes every single time you see a green light because, I don't know, 10 years ago you got into a terrifying crash at an intersection.
That is a perfect way to look at it.
So you know the rules intellectually, but these hidden fears, these money scripts, are overriding your logic and making you crash anyway.
Yes, and what makes that scenario so tragic is that you are hitting the brakes because your brain genuinely thinks it is saving your life.
Oh, right, because it's trying to protect you.
Exactly. That past intersection trauma taught your nervous system that green lights are actually dangerous. So your bad financial behavior, whether that is hoarding money, avoiding bills, or, overspending to feel secure, it's actually just a misguided survival mechanism.
That makes so much sense.
Until you address the traumatic script that says money equals danger or money equals love, the ethical traffic laws alone won't keep you from slamming the brakes.
So the real takeaway for you listening right now is to look at your financial struggles through a completely different lens, whether you are constantly overspending or you're terrified to look at your bank account. Realize that these aren't just a lack of willpower.
No, not at all.
They aren't moral failings. They are emotional habits, deeply rooted in your past, that are trying to protect you, and they need to be observed with curiosity, not just beaten away with guilt.
That shift in perspective is huge. It leads to a much more compassionate view of our own behaviors. We stop labeling ourselves as bad with money and start realizing we're just operating on outdated, unhelpful operating systems.
If our bad money habits are just outdated scripts, it completely changes how we view the concept of greed. Because as Buddhists, when we think of financial attachment, we usually picture a cartoon villain, right?
Oh, for sure.
We picture stereotypical greed, someone swimming in a vault of gold coins, stepping on others to get richer, always wanting more. But it sounds like these scripts can manifest in much sneakier ways.
They absolutely do. The book outlines several different money distortions, which are the different ways our minds get tangled up around wealth. You do have the classic ones, of course.
Like what?
There is money focus, which is the script that says more money will automatically equal more happiness and solve all my internal problems. Then you have money status, where a person links their fundamental human worth to their net worth or their visible success.
Ah, that is the classic keeping up appearances trap. Like upgrading to a luxury car, not because you appreciate the engineering, but because you need the relatives to see it parked outside during family gatherings so they know you've made it.
Right. And that is an exhausting way to live. But then the book points out the hidden forms of attachment, like money avoidance.
Money avoidance.
Yeah, this is a fascinating script. It is the underlying belief that money is somehow inherently dirty, bad, or corrupting. This often leads to complete neglect of financial matters.
Like they just ignore it.
Exactly. People operating on this script might literally shove their utility bills in a drawer unopened. They refuse to look at their retirement savings thinking they're being spiritual or unattached.
Oh, wow. I can see how, especially in a spiritual community, money avoidance could easily disguise itself as a virtue. You might say, oh, I don't care about money, I'm above all those worldly concerns.
Precisely.
But in reality, your drawer is overflowing with past due notices, you're burdening your family,
Right.
and your mind is secretly buzzing with anxiety. That is not non-attachment, that is just sticking your head in the sand.
And the mechanism behind it is still fear. It is the fear of dealing with the reality of the material world. And what's fascinating here is another incredibly poignant example. The book handles the money miser.
Okay, the miser. Traditional teachings often warn about the rich miser as a cautionary tale, right? The person who hoards wealth but cannot enjoy it or share it.
Right, the classic Scrooge archetype. Traditionally, we might judge that person as having a deep moral flaw. We are told to just not be like that. But the mindful wallet looks at the mechanism of miserliness through a modern psychological lens. It explains that in many cases, extreme frugality is actually a trauma response.
Wait, really? A trauma response?
Yes, it is a scarcity trauma. A money miser might be so paralyzed by the fear of losing what they have that they refuse to spend money even on basic essentials.
That sounds awful.
It is. The book notes that some people will deny themselves necessary medical checkups, refuse to fix a leaking roof, or live in unsafe conditions simply because the physical act of spending money triggers overwhelming panic. It requires wise attention and healing, not just us pointing fingers and calling them greedy.
Wait, let me make sure I'm fully grasping this. So someone might actually think they are practicing strict renunciation. They might think, look how little I need. I never spend a cent on myself. I'm so spiritually advanced. But actually, deep down, it's just a really subtle, sneaky form of clinging.
That is exactly the trap. Attachment doesn't always look like grasping for more. It can look like a rigid, white-knuckled refusal to let go of what you already have, even when letting go is the healthy, necessary thing to do.
Wow.
This is where mindfulness becomes a diagnostic tool. It asks us to look inward and honestly assess the physical and emotional sensations behind a choice. Is my refusal to buy a new pair of shoes coming from a place of genuine, peaceful contentment with what I have? Or is my chest tight? Is my jaw clenched?
Right. Is it coming from a panicky fear that if I spend this 50 ringgit, I will somehow be ruined?
Exactly.
That is a crucial distinction. Is it wisdom or is it fear? Is it carefulness or is it clinging? It completely flips the script on how we evaluate our daily financial choices. It turns personal finance into a real-time daily spiritual practice. Money just becomes a mirror reflecting the state of your mind.
It does. It integrates the two worlds seamlessly.
Okay, so knowing our hidden money scripts and our sneaky attachments is great theory. I mean, I love a good theory. But theory often flies out the window in the heat of the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
If I'm standing at a crowded checkout counter holding an expensive gadget I don't need, or I'm in the middle of a heated argument with my spouse over the grocery budget, what do I actually do?
This is where the authors provide a literal toolkit. They invite us to make money a field of mindfulness practice, just like mindful breathing or mindful walking. They call it mindful moneying.
Mindful moneying. I like that.
And the core of this practice is a tool called the Money Stop P method.
Which even comes with a catchy little song in the book to help you remember it. But what is the actual mechanism here? Why does this work?
To understand why it works, we have to look at the neuroscience. When we get financially anxious, like during that argument over the budget, our brain's amygdala takes over.
The amygdala.
Yeah, that is the primitive fight-or-flight center of the brain. When the amygdala is running the show, the prefrontal cortex, which handles rational thinking and long-term planning, basically shuts down. You cannot make a wise financial decision in that state.
Because you're just reacting blindly to perceived danger.
Right. So the S-Stop-P method is an acronym designed to physically pull you out of that amygdala hijack.
Okay, walk me through the letters.
S stands for stop. You literally pause your physical movement before acting. Feel your feet flat on the ground. Root yourself.
Grounding. Got it.
T is for take a breath. One slow, deep breath physically signals your nervous system that you are not being chased by a tiger, which helps bring the prefrontal cortex back online.
Okay, so you're biologically calming down.
Exactly. Then O is for observe. Now that you are calmer, gently notice your thoughts and emotions. Are you operating on an old script? Are you feeling inadequate because of an advertisement?
Just noticing without judging.
Right. And finally, P is for proceed. Act calmly and wisely, choosing to spend, save, or give in a way that actually aligns with your values.
I see the power in that pause. But let's push the envelope a bit here. Let's say I do the STOP method. I pause, I feel my feet on the floor, I take a deep breath, I observe my mind, and I realize I am just completely, utterly terrified that I will never have enough money to retire. The fear is massive and paralyzing.
It happens a lot.
Doesn't that just make me a highly mindful, terrified person? If I just sit there observing my panic, what good does that do me? What does the traditional advice lack here for the modern layperson who is stuck in that loop?
That is the exact limitation that led Dr. Fang and Lim Hui Hui to integrate cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, into the book.
Ah, CB2.
Yes. Mindfulness creates the necessary space. It helps you notice, the thought of scarcity is arising. But if the thought is incredibly sticky and terrifying, you need a tool to untangle it. Mindfulness shows you the tangled knot. CBT gives you the tools to unpick it.
I'm trying to picture how CBT works in this moment. Is it basically like Putting your own panic on the witness stand and cross-examining it, like a lawyer asking where's the actual proof that you're going to go bankrupt.
That is a perfect analogy. While mindfulness helps you notice the fear without judgment, CBT provides structured questions to rigorously test the validity of that fear. It gives you a practical method to examine the beliefs fueling the emotions.
So how would that play out?
Well, so you've paused. You've noticed the thought. If I spend this money to see a specialist about my back pain, I won't have enough to survive. Now, you put that thought on the witness stand. CBT asks, is this thought 100% true?
Okay.
What is the actual mathematical evidence supporting this fear? What is the evidence challenging it? Is this an old money story from when my family was struggling during a recession 20 years ago? And does it actually apply to my current bank balance today?
Ah, I see. So it takes the raw, messy emotion that mindfulness uncovered and applies a gentle, rational investigation to it.
It does. Through CBT, you cross-examine the thought and reframe it. Actually, I have an emergency fund specifically for things like this, and taking care of my health now prevents a more expensive surgery later. Spending this money is actually the safest thing I can do.
That's a huge shift in perspective.
It transforms an automatic, panicked reaction into a wise, evidence-based choice. You are actively retraining your neural pathways, not just coping with the emotion.
That is incredibly practical. And looking at the book, it brings in another crucial element for when this whole process inevitably fails. Self-compassion.
Oh, yes. So important.
Because let's face it, we all make money mistakes. We buy the dumb thing on impulse. We forget to pay a bill and get hit with a late fee. And our immediate culturally conditioned reaction is usually intense shame. We tell ourselves, I'm so stupid, or I'm a terrible Buddhist because I couldn't control my craving.
This raises a vital point about how we process our failures. Brutal self-criticism is the default for so many people. But the book emphasizes that when an old habit returns or you make a financial mistake, it is not a moral failure. It is simply data. It is feedback.
Feedback, not failure. That completely changes the temperature of the room. It takes the heavy judgment right out of it.
It allows for learning. Compassion turns guilt into understanding. This bridges a huge gap because it allows for moral responsibility. You still have to balance your budget and fix the mistake, but without the self-hatred.
Right. You're not letting yourself off the hook, but you're also not beating yourself up.
Exactly. You can say to yourself, okay, I messed up the budget this month because my old money script about needing status flared up when I was with my friends. I see what happened, and I will adjust my boundaries next month. That is productive. Saying, I am a broken, greedy person just keeps you paralyzed in shame.
And this compassion doesn't just stay internal, right? It extends to how we communicate with our families about money, which is, honestly, arguably the biggest minefield of all.
Yes, absolutely. The Buddha taught the principle of right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and beneficially. But traditional texts don't give you a step-by-step dialogue tree for how to sit down with your siblings and discuss who is paying for your aging parents' medical care without starting World War III.
Yeah, that's where things get really messy.
The book updates right speech by incorporating a modern framework called nonviolent communication, or NVC.
Give me a concrete example of this. How does NVC actually work when two siblings are at each other's throats over a hospital bill?
Typically, a stressed sibling might lash out with an accusation. You never help with mom's bills. You're so selfish, I have to carry the whole burden.
Ouch. And that instantly triggers the other sibling's amygdala, right?
Exactly. Defensiveness goes up, and the conversation turns into a shouting match. NVC provides a 4-step framework to break this cycle. Observation, feeling, need, request.
Okay, so how do we map that onto the hospital bill scenario?
First, you state a neutral observation without judgment. You'd say, when I see that I have paid the last 3 hospital bills.
Just the facts.
Right. Second, you state your feeling, I feel overwhelmed and anxious. Third, you state the underlying need. Because I need a sense of shared support and fairness in caring for our parents.
Okay, and then?
Finally, you make a clear, actionable request. Could we sit down this weekend and look at how we can divide the future medical costs equally?
That is brilliant. It takes all the heat out of the conversation. You aren't attacking their character, which means they don't have to defend themselves. You're just stating facts, owning your own feelings, and, inviting them to solve a shared problem together.
It creates a bridge of empathy, where before there was only a wall of resentment.
It really is. Right speech practically applied to the very messy reality of family obligations.
Exactly.
So we have covered a lot of ground today. If we uncover our childhood money scripts, if we recognize our hidden attachments, whether it's greed, avoidance, or trauma-driven miserliness, and we apply the STOP method, cross-examine our fears with CBT, and speak to our families using nonviolent communication. What is the end goal here? What does success actually look like for someone practicing financial mindfulness?
Well, it is important to state clearly what success is not. In this framework, success is not measured by the size of your investment portfolio. It isn't about accumulating the biggest pile of cash possible.
Okay.
Success is finding what the authors call mindful wealth. It is the middle way applied to personal finance.
The middle way. Not getting rich at all costs, but not rejecting the reality of money entirely either.
Exactly. Mindful wealth means money is finally put in its proper place. It becomes a useful tool, not a tyrannical master. The goal is worldly happiness and stability that supports spiritual growth.
That makes a lot of sense.
It means saving with care for the future, not out of a terrified sense of scarcity, but out of wisdom and responsibility. It means spending your money on things that genuinely matter, your physical health, the people you love, and your core values. And importantly, it means giving with a generous, open heart, totally free from the tight, anxious grip of fear.
The song from the book really captures that ethos perfectly, doesn't it? Save with care, spend on health, love, and what I value, and give with heart. That sounds like a beautifully balanced way to live in the modern world. You stay deeply connected to spiritual principles, but you also make sure the electricity stays on.
Exactly.
Wealth simply becomes a support system for well-being, rather than a constant source of suffering.
That is the ultimate synthesis the book offers. Handling your finances becomes a form of spiritual practice itself. Earning, saving, spending, and giving are no longer worldly distractions. They become intentional acts of wisdom and compassion.
We started this deep dive talking about that heavy feeling of dread when you open a banking app, or the suffocating tension at the family table when inheritance or medical bills are mentioned. We've seen how that dread isn't just about the numbers. It's a tangled web of past scripts, hidden fears, and unexamined beliefs.
It's a lot to untangle, but it's possible.
Right. With tools like the mindful pause, cognitive cross-examination, and nonviolent communication, we can actually untangle that web. We can turn a moment of sheer financial stress into a moment of profound clarity. So I want to leave you, the listener, with this one thought to mull over as you go about your day. If your most recent bank statement was a mirror reflecting your mind, what money story would it tell about your true values today? And more importantly, is it a story you are ready to rewrite?